is a groovy party, man. I can dig it.
Good morning and welcome to the Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can follow us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. Good morning to you, Calvin. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, Earl. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, man. What about that Packer game yesterday?
Yeah, it was a thriller. Not much to say else other than that. I just heard in the sports report that first time Packers have ever won a game on a blocked field goal.
Hey, Calvin, a Bears-Packer game, a thriller?
Yeah, what else is new?
All right. Now, listen, got a great show lined up for you this morning. Just want to mention that we've got a new segment that we're going to be adding on a daily basis. That's going to be the politrickster of the day. You know, well, the great thing about my first guest is neither one of them are politricksters. And so I want to welcome to the studio Dr. Thomas Beege and Nurse Morgan Miller of Freighted Hospital. Good morning to the both of you. How are you?
Good morning, Earl. Good morning. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit this morning about a special program that Freighter is offering in conjunction with the Silver Spring Neighborhood Center. It's the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin, and it's also sponsored by the Milwaukee Bucks. So let's talk. I mean, a lot of things to talk about, but Doctor, I want to begin with you. I've got so many friends. And, I'm a few days older than dirt. And so I've noticed so many friends whose kidneys are failing them. Is this happening more now than it has in the past, and why?
Well, good morning, Earl. Good morning, Calvin. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate the platform and your time. So roughly in the United States, about 37 million people have chronic kidney disease. And really the interesting thing or unfortunate thing is that 9 out of 10 folks that have kidney disease don't know that they have kidney disease, right? So it's unrecognized. And symptoms are very late in kidney disease when you're actually nearing dialysis. So many times I hear, unfortunately, where, I had to get life insurance, so they did an exam and I found out my kidney function was not that great. Or I went to the primary care provider for the first time in a long time, and I found out my kidney function was great. People are living longer these days, and there's also the classification for kidney disease, so it's easy, more awareness, more recognition. So, but again, think about that number. 9 out of 10 folks do not know that they have kidney disease, and many of them, when they're almost near dialysis, don't find out till they show up in the emergency room actually starting dialysis. So I think it's a big awareness issue, and now that we're more aware of it, people are recognizing it more.
So I'm 70 years old and I've never had kidney screening. So, it's not something that, is talked about a lot, and it's not something that's offered verbatim. Your doctors don't say, hey, Earl, go and have a kidney screening. Why? Why is it so silent? Why is it so quiet? Why is it not something that we hear constantly?
So usually when you go to your primary care provider, they check a set of labs. Part of the labs checks your kidney function, namely what we call the creatinine or something called the GFR or the percentage of your kidney function per se. So many times if it's normal, and that's how the lab comes back, if it's above 60%, let's say, you might not be told, oh, I have even mild kidney disease. But early stage 1 kidney disease is actually a kidney function of 90% or more, which is very close to normal, but that might not show on the lab. And I think it's more awareness both for the medical community as well as the patients to ask, hey, what is the percentage of my kidney function? My family members had kidney disease, they were on dialysis. Can you tell me? And be more proactive in their care in that way.
37 million Americans. That's a staggering amount. And I can tell you, doctor, that, I don't recall as many dialysis facilities when I was a younger man as there are today. So something is certainly happening.
Right. People, we have better technology, better medical interventions to help people stay alive. For instance, some of the valve repairs used to be open heart surgery, and now they can just go through your arm in a sense, right? So I think the technology has really improved in keeping everyone alive longer. We have many more drugs, many more things that we didn't have 20, 30 years ago that help folks live longer. But in part, in living longer, now that you live longer, you kind of unfortunately have other things as you get older. Kidney function on average, you lose 7 to 8% of your kidney function after the age of 45, 50 years old every 10 years. Add on to that the two most common causes, which is diabetes and hypertension. And if those two are poorly controlled, obviously the disease progresses. So when you mention screening, the really important part about screening is early diagnosis, early intervention, and preventing that progression of disease. And if it's something reversible, like an obstruction or a kidney stone, to get that fixed. And again, two most common causes: hypertension, diabetes. Getting that under really good control to prevent the progression of the disease is so important.
So if you're just joining us, my guests are Dr. Thomas Beege and um, Nurse Morgan Miller of Freighter. They are going to be a part of Thankful Hearts Healthy Starts Health Fair, which is going to be taking place tomorrow here in Milwaukee, and it's going to take place at the Silver Spring Neighborhood Center. So, Dr. Beege, I don't have you long, so I'm going to keep firing questions at you. So when
sure, no problem.
So when we're talking about the kidney function, and you talking about the increase in diabetes and all of these other things that play a major role in people having to lose their kidneys and to be on dialysis. You talked about prevention from the perspective of early screening. What can we do to prevent and make sure that we do all that we can to make sure that our kidneys continue to function properly?
Number one is awareness, right? It is always scary to go to the primary care doctor to get your lab checked. It's always scary, right? You always don't want to find something that you don't know. But we have to get our head out of the sand to check, and that way you can make early intervention, right? So number one, screening for hypertension and diabetes, right? And then getting those under control, or whatever issues that you might have to get them under control, right? And then the other part is a healthy diet, really watching what you eat. Maybe eating more plants than necessarily animal protein, for instance. Watching the salt in your diet, reading food labels and taking interest in that. Those types of things, and of course, an active lifestyle, right? So making sure that you do walk, you do some exercise, and that you try to stay as active as possible. And those really are some of the key things. And then avoiding anything that might be toxic to your kidneys, or making sure you drink enough water. And then if you do have a health problem, always being consummate about like checking, hey, do I need to worry about anything else going on? Is my kidney function okay? So I think, but if you were to sum it up, the biggest thing in our community in the United States really is watching what you eat and exercise, and watching your weight. If you can control some of those things, that goes a long way to helping you in general, as well as, of course, kidney disease.
So my nationality is I'm a man of color. Is it true that nationality plays a role in kidney disease?
So it's more your background per se. So being race is more of like a social construct than a biological one, right? So recently, we actually removed race from our equation to calculate the kidney function, which has helped a lot of folks get more time to get a transplant. Now, however, if you're from certain parts of Africa, if your ancestors are from that part of Africa, you have some genetic predisposition, which we can check for kidney disease. So it depends on your heritage a bit more. But yes, there is some association with your history in that way, with your ethnic background in that way.
We talked a little bit. So screening, if someone winds up at the event on tomorrow, what is the process? I mean, what do you need to do? What do you need to bring along with you in order to get screened? What's the cost?
You can always bring. There is no cost. It is free, and so you come in. You'll do a health questionnaire. You fill that out, and that's and you can fill it out as best you can, and then you move through the process. So that includes getting your weight checked, your height checked for your what we call body mass index. Looking at that, it can be checking your urine for protein in the urine, which is an early sign of kidney disease, and as well as talking to different providers, including a kidney specialist. It could be a physician, or it'll be me, or an advanced practitioner and such, and getting advice on how to move forward, and some of these more specifics to the patient or to the person. So, for instance, if someone comes through and they have hypertension, they can ask me about the drugs they're on and what it does and how it works. What are the side effects? So really, just trying to remove that veil of like, hey, we're all in this together. We really want you to live as long as possible. And really, the best thing is that you never have to see a kidney doctor. That's the success in preventative care, right? To never have to come and see me. So that, or needing a transplant, or being on dialysis.
So what does kidney screening entail?
So it's just the only invasive part about it at the screening at the tomorrow will be, or not really invasive, is giving a sample of urine. That's it. And then you'll get your weight and your height checked, and there's no blood draw to my knowledge. And then you'll come and then you'll discuss it with the provider. If there is an issue, let's say somebody is concerned, then either they already have a primary care physician, and I'll help coach them to what questions to ask or what to say when they see them. If they do not have a healthcare provider, there's lots of resources that we will give them to find that primary care that they need, whether it be a free clinic or a clinic that can help them get seen and tested further, and more specific counseling to them.
So let's say you're tested tomorrow, things come
Mhm.
back negative. How soon will you
Yeah,
find out, and what would be the process after that?
immediately. So we get the urine sample results immediately. Obviously, you're checking your weight and stuff, so everything is very immediate there. So by the time they sit down with the physician at the end, all these results already have occurred. The healthcare questionnaire is done. So, and then the next steps is if they need to see their provider, we help them schedule it, and then we give them the resources and the counselors to reach out to a clinic if that's what they need to go to. But we can tell them like, hey, you're doing well. And I forgot, we also check their blood pressure. So you're doing well, you're doing great. Just keep things as they're going, or what to change.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I'll see you on tomorrow. I'll be there.
Wonderful. Thanks. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks again,
All
Earl.
right. Thank
Calvin.
you. Up next, Nurse Morgan Miller. We're going to discuss why it's important to know your cholesterol, blood pressure, and blood sugar numbers on a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show.
shame the way you mess around with your man. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with your man. I'm sitting all alone by the telephone, waiting for your call. When you don't call at all.
All right, welcome back to Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. And we are joined by the outreach specialist for Freighter Hospital. And this is none other than Nurse Morgan Miller. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, Earl. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Tell us a little bit about the health fair that's going to be taking place tomorrow.
Absolutely. So Thankful Hearts Healthy Starts is a partnership with Silver Spring Neighborhood Center and the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin, where we wanted to bring as many resources to the community as we possibly could under one roof. So many times we find that there are tons of barriers to gaining access to healthcare, and we wanted to break down as many of those barriers as we could.
You know, I talked a little bit about before we, the break, and I was talking about blood pressure, high blood pressure, blood sugar, numbers that really, unfortunately, really impact the Black community in unbelievable numbers. Why? Why do you think that's such an issue? I mean, it is with everybody. It's not just germane to people of color, but really it impacts and affects our community more.
Yes. So, due to, like I mentioned before, the barriers that people face in communities of color, sometimes there could be transportation, there could be lack of insurance or underinsured, no access to like healthy foods and healthy ways of life. Just so many barriers in that sense. Because they're there and because they exist, we tend to see that the numbers for hypertension and diabetes are driven, and heart disease are driven upwards. And so that is why the health fair is taking place, because we want to see those numbers trend back downward.
You know, you talked about it's still pretty amazing to me as somebody who's always had a healthcare professional, since I was, 18 years old. I'm not sure my parents made sure that I saw a doctor prior to that, but as an adult, I've always had a primary care physician throughout my entire life. And so it's still pretty amazing to me when I hear people who basically have, adults who've never seen a doctor.
Agreed. It is amazing. It's shocking, but it's also the fact that there are times where many people that falls to the very bottom of the barrel when you're worried about your job security or your children or just different family things going on, housing. When you have all of these other things on your mind, taking care of yourself sometimes falls to the very bottom.
You're taking care. We're so concerned about taking care of others and planning for the future of our children and our grandchildren. And, and then we come, unfortunately, far too many times, we don't think about ourselves. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of the others that we love. Is it safe to say that?
It is very safe to say that, Mr. Earl. There are times where, when you get on the airplane and they tell you if there's anything happens, apply your oxygen mask first before you put it on to help someone else, because that's true. You cannot take care of your others if you're not taking care of yourself. And so that is one of the driving forces in my day-to-day work. I always tell people, you have to be okay, because if you're looking to be there for people, in order to be there, you have to be healthy and you have to show up the best way you can.
if people are just joining us, I'm joined by Ms. Morgan Miller. She is a community outreach nurse of Freighted Hospital, and she is on because we're talking about an event that's taking place tomorrow here in Milwaukee. And where is that going to be at again? And what's the name of it?
Thankful Hearts Healthy Starts Health Fair will be at Silver Spring Neighborhood Center tomorrow from 12 to 4 p.m.
So, Nurse Morgan, I think there are times that we don't really understand the connection between the heart, the kidneys, heart, and the liver, and so one could be impacted, but all three of those functions kind of work interchangeably. Um, if your heart is in a bad way, does it often mean that your liver and your kidneys and those other things may follow suit, or if it's the other way around?
Absolutely. So what you will see is if one organ is under a lot of stress, if they're putting if the organ has to work harder, those other areas are typically picking up the slack, or they're feeling the strain as well, whether it be the heart, having a hard time pumping blood throughout your body. If that is the case, then you'll see your kidneys will also be working a bit harder because they're trying to filter in as much as it possibly can, but it can only filter in what the heart is able to get to it. And so then you'll see the liver kind of trying to work its way out there. But it is most definitely true that if one is affected, pretty much all of them could be affected.
All right. My guest, Morgan Miller. She's a registered nurse and community outreach nurse for Freighted Hospital. She's here to talk about the Thankful Hearts Healthy Starts Health Fair that's taking place tomorrow in the city of Milwaukee. And it's a Motown Monday. On the other side, what is the importance and why is it so important to have a primary care provider on a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show?
baby, didn't I do the best I could, now didn't I? So don't you leave me standing in the shadows of love.
All right, welcome back to a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. My guest is Nurse Morgan Miller. She's an RN community outreach nurse at Frederick Hospital here in Milwaukee. And they are having a wonderful and much needed event on tomorrow. It is the Thankful Heart Healthy Starts Health Fair, and it aims to get as many resources as possible under one roof to help eliminate barriers to health care. Now, our phone lines are open at 855-752-4842. You know, Nurse Miller, we're heard across the state of Wisconsin, and so many people who are listening to us right now are in rural areas of this state who don't have access to, maybe being able to come to this fair. But it's just as crucial and important for people all over the state as it is for all over the world to be able to have these types of screenings. What would you suggest to people who are outside of our, the area of where this event is going to take place tomorrow, and how important it is as well for them to get screening?
Absolutely. So there are so many, the barriers that exist within the city still exist in rural areas as well. And so while I can't speak to specific resources across the state, I can say that local health departments are awesome resources in order to, find a way to different avenues of care. Federally qualified health centers they predominantly focus on like sliding fee scales, and they're trying to make sure that everybody that walks through those doors leaves with some level of care. They don't want to exclude anyone, and so those are areas that it may not be a private doctor's office, but those are areas that will see anyone and everyone, and they have a great standard of care as well.
You talked about sliding scales. People who don't have doctors, it's not an easy thing to do. How to especially because there's never enough doctors to go around. And so what is the process? I don't have a doctor, and I'm finding out that I need to find one. I don't have insurance. What can be done? Excuse me, because there's so many Americans who fall in that criteria.
Yes, there is. And so my typical recommendation would be to sit down with someone who is able to see what you do have to work with and go from there. So if you don't have insurance, if you have insurance, it's easy to just call them up and say, hey, I need a list of providers within 5 to 10 miles of me, and you can go from there. If there's no insurance and you're saying, well, that knocks that off the board. Well, the federally qualified health centers, those are excellent starting points because there are social workers and people there who can connect you with resources like seeing if you're even qualified for like a Medicaid or Medicare or outside insurance help, or they can even help you navigate the marketplace to sign up for insurance. And if insurance is just not in your stars at all, like I said, there are sliding scale fees, but they're able to work with you around those as much as possible. You'd be surprised what a lot of those providers can give.
I have 4 doctors, and so my primary doctor, I have a cardiologist. I have a doctor that deals with. I had my thyroid removed, so I forgot what kind of doctor you call that. What is
Endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist, and the other one, a hemo, because I have my hemoglobin is not. I don't.
Okay.
My body doesn't. What'd you call it?
A hematologist.
a hematologist. So I have 4 doctors. And it's pretty amazing because when I was young, I didn't have 4 doctors. But again, I'm 70 years old. And so, I have 4 doctors and I go to them regularly.
Mhm.
And so it starts with the primary specialist. I mean, is that how it starts, or do you just go to these different doctors without having one primary doctor?
So your primary care provider is the one who can give you those referrals out to those separate individuals. And you may find that, okay, I saw my primary care provider, they ran some tests, some labs, and then now they're going to tell me I need you to go to this doctor because they specialize in this area. It's hard to get to a specialist before seeing a primary care provider, just because you don't know who to ask for and they don't know what you're coming in with. But at least when you have that primary care provider, some groundwork has been done and they can lead you to the right direction.
I've lived long enough to have seen the changes in the way all of this works. And I remember when I was a younger man and I would go to my primary doctor and they would have a case information on me and they would write it down and it would be in a manila folder and they would put it up above things in alphabetical order. It was a tedious process, but I've lived long enough now to see the technology and how all your record is interconnected to all of your different doctors. And when you walk into a place, I don't care if it's an emergency or whatever it is, they've got all of your history. Let's talk about how the improvement in technology has really made a major difference in keeping people's health.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. So going into those different areas where, okay, I don't know anybody here, but when they pull up your chart and they can see, okay, this is your provider, this is when you last saw them, this is what your concerns were. It gives you a bit of a peace of mind, but it also it's you should aim to try to keep your cares within the same network. So like if you're coming through Freighted or if you're whatever hospital system you're going through, it's easier to stay within the same hospital system. That way you can they certainly won't miss any blurbs. All of your information will be able to be seen by any provider within that health system.
So you're a community outreach nurse, and so there are people like you all over. So what's your real purpose? Why is there such a thing as a community outreach nurse?
So my purpose is to get people in to see to take preventative action. Now there are times where I'm out in the community and I'm providing screenings for hypertension or diabetes, and those are, and we might find, hey, I'm already diagnosed, which is fine. But then I serve as a reminder to say, get back into your provider. Make sure you're following up. Make sure you're taking your medications as needed, or as prescribed. I am there to remind people that you don't have to end up in an emergency room. You can do something about what you're feeling and what you're experiencing in your body today. And that would be to set up care with a primary care provider.
So in the last few minutes that we have together, this event is going to be taking place on tomorrow. You got a celebrity that is going to be appearing, and a guy who plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, Bobby Portis.
Yes, we do. And we are very excited to have Bobby Portis alongside us, championing this work around primary care prevention and taking care of yourself. We're very excited to have him. Over the moon.
So what about loved ones? I mean, it's one thing to take care of yourself, but we have loved ones who we need to, light a match under, right? I mean, that we need to, yeah, hey, mom, hey, dad, when is the last time you had this done, right? Or moms and dads whose children are grown. Hey, go get this done. I mean, it requires a community. Is it safe to say that?
It is safe to say that we so many times I see in the community when I'm out and about, there may be a duo of a mom and a daughter, or a son and a father, or a mother and a son. And while the mother may be more willing to stop by the table and be screened, there's always a bunch of apprehension with the younger individual. But with a little bit of encouragement, they eventually come over. And it's important for us to hold each other up and to just tell each other, hey, I need you here and you need me here. So how about we both do our part, and make sure that we're caring for ourselves.
So knowing the family history, and we sometimes we don't know, grandma may have died early, grandpa died early, uncles and aunts, and you don't find out until later on that many of them had heart disease, or they had high blood pressure, or they had had diabetes and all these different things. How critically important is it to know the history of your family?
If you know the history of your family, you know what to look out for. You're more prone to pay attention to warning signs that your body is giving you. We know that we're able to look over aches and pains and wounds for quite some time if they aren't. What do they say? If it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger. Well, in healthcare, that isn't necessarily true. We don't want to ignore what is ailing us. And so if you're able to know your family history, which isn't a privilege for everyone, right? But if you are able to know, it's important to ask those questions. And while we're about to approach on the holidays, it's a good time to just ask around, like, hey, ask about your family history. Ask about, it could be a very fruitful conversation and you'll learn more than you probably would like, but it's important to know.
So Nurse Miller, I want to thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow. I'll be there.
Thank you so much, Earl. Looking forward to having you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll tell you something. There are things that we talk about and that we kid about, and I kid about, and been talking politics for some time, but to take a hiatus from that for a moment to talk about something that's more important than all of that, and that's your own health. Nothing more important than that. You can't do for others if you can't take care of yourself and make sure that you're here. So, as I stated earlier, there's a new segment that we're going to be kicking off in this next segment, and that's going to be the politrickster of the day. Every day that I'm on, we're going to have a different politrickster, and I picked this guy out, and it's kind of surprising, but stay tuned for Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show.
Didn't I always treat you good? Now didn't I? I'm standing
looking out on the morning rain. Thank you. I used to feel so uninspired. And when I knew I had to face another day, Lord, it made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind, but you're the key to my peace of mind, because you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel.
All right, welcome back to a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. And yes, the politrickster of the day. And so every day, from this point forward, I'm going to pick someone out, unless you yourself have identified somebody that you think we should highlight. Calvin, if somebody wanted to text, a person that they think we should, nominate for the politrickster of the day, how can they get in touch with us?
Yeah, I will look into getting an email set up specifically for the Earl Ingram Show, but for right now, you can text at the normal call-in number, or you can also download the Civic Media app and text us through there.
So this may surprise you. You may have been expecting me to nominate the first politrickster of the year and that person be a Republican. But as I went through some different names and some things in preparing to nominate the initial politrickster of the day, I couldn't help but, select this one because in a way, he surprised me. But if you really have heard him and listened to him, you wouldn't be surprised. And it's none other than Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Now, why would I select John Fetterman to be the politrickster of the day? And it has everything to do with the fact that John Fetterman is, he's actually blowing up his fellow Democratic senators and Congress people and telling them to chill. Chill. Why are we getting so upset about Donald Trump being president? He hasn't even been elected yet. Give him a chance. What? Senator Fetterman, give him a chance. I wonder if Senator Fetterman is aware of Project 2025. The thing about Senator Fetterman is when he was going through, the difficulties that he faced when he was being attacked by Republicans and conservatives who didn't want him to get a seat. And when he was going through some heavy physical and mental issues, it was the Democrats who came to his rescue. Democrats who spoke up on his behalf. I know he's always kind of acted in an independent manner, but he is a member of the Democratic Party. If he wanted to be an independent, then he should have been that. But for heaven's sakes, give him a chance. We already know what he's going to do. And so I wonder who he's catering to. Give him a chance. Senator Fetterman, you really have to chill out. And you're going to have to be more discerning or discriminating on what's going to freak you out. And what's just trolling, he added. Because it's not the weather. It's not the climate. It's now for the next 4 years. Fetterman's comments come as Trump has rolled out a bevy of cabinet and other administrative appointments this week, with some of them drawing shock across Washington. He picked former Representative Matt Gaetz to be his attorney general, former Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard, on and on and on. And so for Senator Fetterman to say, wait, he's not even the president yet. Basically, let's give him a chance. I say this to you, Senator Fetterman, with all due respect. You are now officially in the archives of the Earl Ingram Show's first politrickster of the day. Can't believe that you said that. But I think as time goes on and as we continue this segment, this will fade too. But right now, the number one politrickster of the day and in archival history, John Fetterman, the senator of Pennsylvania, on the Earl Ingram Show.
unfaithful, darling. I've caused you misery, a feeling of guilt. Oh, it tortures me, and only you, my darling, oh, can set me free. And darling, all I need is just to hear you say, you forgive me, baby.
All right, welcome back to a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. You know, I mean, if you guys could see me sometimes, you know, on StreamYard or on Facebook, you'll see me jumping around, Calvin, when the music plays. Motown, the history of it is my life. And so, you know, as a very young boy, with all the things that have impacted and made me who I am, in the midst of all of that was this great, great, historic Motown music. And I'm so honored and thrilled to bring it to you every Monday. And some Tuesdays and, you know, Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays too, because it is so interconnected to who I am, and I'm sure it's the same way with you. But anyway, I was expected to be joined by Mr. Eric Gutsy, who was hired as director of the community engagement of Wisconsin's GOP. The Wisconsin Republican Party proudly welcomes Eric Gutsy as its new unwavering director of community engagement for the black community. He wound up doing this in Milwaukee as well. In his role as director of community engagement based in Milwaukee, and Gutsy will spearhead efforts to connect with and mobilize communities taken for granted by the Democratic Party. Now, I had a nice long conversation with Mr. Nguzi a week ago, and he wanted to come on the air. I invited him. I thought it would be important to hear from a black man who supports the Republican Party and also Donald Trump. And so, unlike conservative talk radio, I wanted to bring him on because when I realized that there were more black men outside of Nguzi who supported Donald Trump, as a black man myself, I could not comprehend how that could be possible. You know, knowing the history as I know it. And so I thought it would be important since, you know, 21%, 22% of blacks, mainly black men, young black men, thought that Donald Trump was the person that represented them best and that he was going to do something to make their lives better. And so, you know, we had a great conversation. So I reached out to him on yesterday. You know, we're scheduled to appear today. No answer. I text him. Now, he heads community outreach in the Republican office, right in the heart of Black Milwaukee. And I was listening to, I forgot the guy who's in charge of Republicans here at the state level. They've committed to keeping that office open. So this is not just some, you know, Johnny come lately. This is a representative of the Republican Party. And I assumed they won, that this man would have courage to come on. It's going to be a fair dialogue. I mentioned that to him. I was not going to blindside him with anything. And so called him many times, text him on yesterday. This is the head of their outreach in Black Milwaukee. No response. I called him many times this morning, text him many times this morning. No response. Now, I said all that to say this. Um, if you're in a position such as that, and you're representing the Republican Party, not representing themselves, they have him in that office. They pay to keep that office open. They felt that he was the most qualified person to put there. And so I'm expecting to have a conversation and a dialogue with him this morning. No response. But I'm fine. Not going to cry crocodile tears. I'll just make it clear. You know, if he felt that way and he could support Donald Trump and he could explain to me, as he did when we spoke last week, he should have had the courage to do it this morning. I have no problem with someone deciding not to come on the air. That's all right. Things happen. But I would at least expect the courtesy of an email, a text message, or a phone call. He chose to do neither of those things. And so for that reason, I'm letting you know about Mr. Eric Ngutsi, who has chosen not to appear. Let's go to Charles from Milwaukee. Good morning to you, Charles. How you doing, man?
Hey, good morning, Earl. I am great. Maybe he flew out to Mar-a-Lago this morning to talk to the good Donald to ask him if he was going to put Tim Scott or Byron Donalds in one of those great cabinet picks that he out there picking people for.
Man, hey, you know, it is possible, you know, but Donald Trump has not placed either one of those men thus far in any position. And those are men who, you know, will shine Donald Trump's shoes if he asks them to. You know, what's the guy's name from you said Donald, right?
Yep, Byron
Donald. Yeah, Tim Scott. You know, there was talk early on about Tim Scott being his running mate. Remember?
Right.
And you know, but that's all, man. Listen, man. So if you're a black man and you voted for Donald Trump, I know a few, and then you should have courage enough to explain why, especially if you're holding office, right? If you're in a position of leadership with the Republican Party, just be true to your word, man. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't have come on and mentioned the guy's name if he would have at least done the least of it. And that's, man, you know, send a remittance of why he couldn't make it. Hey, Charles, thank you very much for the call. Good morning to you, Cindy. You say what?
Well, I guess I'm not surprised because this is how the Republicans operate. I mean, every one of the debates I went to for, you know, the local candidates, the Democrats showed up, the Republican didn't. And, you know, to the Republican people, this just doesn't matter. And I don't understand why they don't care that the representatives don't show up for anything. I don't understand it, but they continue to vote for them anyway. So this is just par for the course, Earl.
Hey, Cindy, I'm not going to cry any crocodile tears. You know, I just think it's important that he get the message. You know, be a man of your word. That's not asking too much of anybody. You're in a position of leadership, then least you could have done was, you know, let me know that you weren't going to be on. Let's go to Bill from Oconomowoc. Good morning to you, Bill. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, just fine. Say, we share great company, Earl. I am banned from Dan O'Donnell's talk show. He refuses to talk to me. So I talked to his screener, who will at least listen to my point of view. Dan O'Donnell said he won't talk to me because I said, and I did, he hates democracy. These little babies and their little games will be the best thing that maybe ever happened to our country is to have Donald Trump president. because he is going to find out what guardrails are. He's going to learn accountability the hard way. And don't kid yourself, there's still enough left to hold him accountable. With Matt Gaetz as the AG, why didn't they ask Pee Wee Herman? Oh, that's right, Pee Wee Herman's dead. They couldn't get him. You know, I mean, come on, Matt Gaetz. These people have no accountability, no honesty, and here's what they don't want: clarity. Oh, they don't want the they don't want to have the light of truth shine on them because it's ridiculous what they're doing.
Hey,
I'm
Bill.
calling out all my Republican friends already. Donald Trump has been called out by Putin, and Fox News isn't talking about
Hey,
it.
Bill. Let me tell you something. I was watching MSNBC this morning, and they're going to do everything they can to support Donald Trump. I'm listening to this, and I'm just, wait a minute. Well, it's our responsibility. He's the president now. They met with him in the face of all of what we're talking about and what's happening and what's coming. For MSNBC, Joe Scarborough and Mika Scarborough to say, we're pulling the gloves off. It's time to support Donald Trump. What? What? Where are we at? We're in the twilight zone. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about, when we talk about, Donald Trump, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the people and the agencies that are going to be impacted and affected by his decisions. I can't believe it. And we're supposed to say, okay, we agree with you, Mr. Trump. You're president now. We're going to support you. Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, that character. And Elon Musk. We're going to talk about that and what their plans are on the Earl Ingram Show. Welcome back to a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. If you're wondering where my purported guest is, I don't know where he is either. Eric Ngutse, who is the community outreach specialist representing the Republican Party in the city of Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's black community has chosen not to even return as much as a phone call or a text or an email, even though he agreed to appear on the show this morning. Let's go to the phone lines and CJ. Good morning to you, CJ. You say what?
Good morning, Earl. Love the Spinners. Couldn't believe I'm falling in love. Thank you for Motown Monday. And Eric called me and asked me to substitute.
Yeah, right.
So I guess when I heard you earlier today what did you call the political trickster?
Politrickster of the day. Get used to it every day.
Well, I kind of got a giggle because I thought you would have picked Beyonce, $55,000
Hey, CJ.
a second.
Hey, CJ, is she a politician?
Well, she.
Okay,
I guess
CJ.
you guys-
It's
you're
called. It's hey,
politicians.
CJ. I'm not going to let you change what this is. It's the politician or politrickster of the day. Beyonce is an entertainer. But I know it's hard for you to follow suit, man. You have to try to change things, constantly as if, it's the CJ show.
No, I'm just making a comment.
You're making a comment that has nothing to do with what this is, man. Politician of the day.
How about the politrickster Kamala Harris? Because she tricked you guys
Hey,
into
CJ.
believing that
Hey,
she
CJ.
was actually...
You don't get to determine who my politrickster of the day is going to be, man. It's the Earl Ingram Show. Okay? So, I said John Fetterman. I explained the reasons why. John Fetterman is a Democrat, and John Fetterman has decided and has chosen to say to Democrats, fellow Democrats, hey, we need to back off of Donald Trump and give Donald Trump a chance. And so for that, he's deserving of the politrickster of the day because Republicans didn't give Joe Biden a chance, and they certainly didn't give Kamala Harris a chance. Thank you very much for the call. Gene from Eau Claire, good morning to you. How you doing?
Please give me a goddamn break. Going after the people that supported Kamala. Give her a break. Hey, women are being attacked. So cut the crap, CJ. We're getting sick of it. Why don't you get your own show on your...
So I don't care about CJ. We're talking about John Fetterman. And the fact that John Fetterman, a Democratic senator, seems to believe that Democrats need to give Donald Trump a chance. And I will say this to you. Again, I watch Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, his wife, on MSNBC, and I'm hearing others, and they are saying we need to get on board. Donald Trump is the president. Your thoughts?
Were they threatened? I mean, this man that people put into power, they ought to know how this guy works.
They went to Mar-a-Lago. They went to Mar-a-Lago over the weekend and sat down and supped and broke bread with Donald Trump.
My God, and they were one of his worst critics.
Yes.
They must think they're really going to get it. I mean, this guy wields the power. I mean, come on, people need to wake up. This man says it and he does it, and he goes after people. You know what? The Republicans are in more problems than we think. They're the ones, if they don't bow down to him now he has his power, he's going to take them out one by one. He already got rid of a lot of Republicans. I'm not saying physically. I'm saying primaried him, sent people after him. People were threatened. A lot of them had to get bodyguards. This is serious crap coming from this man. And you know what? If they think they're going to change him, they got another thought. And if we think we're going to have anybody representing us, take a look at Ron Johnson. He don't even answer his goddamn phone anymore. I mean, he votes against anything that spends any money for the people. He doesn't do anything for the people. And it's really alarming. So people need to wake up because this is very, very serious.
Hey, Gene, thank you very much for the call. Listen, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, we're going to talk about some of the departments that they are going to get rid of. And you're going to be surprised because these and many that they haven't even mentioned that are going to be on the chopping block. And many of you voted for them, and you're going to be hurt, unfortunately, by the very people you supported and the people you trust in. A Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. Join me next time. Sandy Williams will be here for the Politrickster of the day and a whole lot more. You know.
I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. Do you hear me? I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. I don't give me anything.
All right, welcome back to a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. So what's amazing to me is, you know, before the election, Calvin, we were hearing people constantly talking about Project 2025 and, you know, how dangerous that was. And so now that Donald Trump is in office, or will be in office, people aren't talking about Project 2025 anymore because they've already kind of accepted the fate of that. It doesn't surprise you that people aren't talking about that anymore, man?
Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't completely surprise me because the news cycle kind of moves on, but I think it should be evident in the people that he's appointing or talking about appointing to the cabinet positions that even if he is truthful in saying he didn't know anything about it, the people he's appointing to these positions are clearly involved and know what's going on.
So Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk have accepted a role that, you know, is going to be a special kind of role to lead the new Department of Government Efficiency. So Donald Trump created this new Department of Government Efficiency. And Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, Vivek, especially on yesterday on Fox News, said that certain agencies, Calvin, are going to be totally eliminated. Governmental agencies that have been put in place for decades to address real issues that, you know, impact and affect the American people. And so Donald Trump comes into office and is going to turn the entire country inside out and upside down. And John Fetterman says, let's wait and see. So if we're relying on two men who are filthy rich, who, have their heaven on this earth, they've got more money than they'll ever spend. They've got more money that'll last them until Jesus comes back. And they're talking about cutting programs that impact and affect the least of the people. And I don't know why all of a sudden people are saying, hey, let's get on board because the people voted for us to, voted for them. And so now, we've got to kind of knuckle under and try to make this work. I'm like, hell no. You know that they're getting ready to cut these programs. This is Vivek Ramaswamy on yesterday. We expect mass reductions, he said during that appearance on the Fox News Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that we deem are bloated. What? A billionaire? I don't know. Ramaswamy might be getting close. But we do know Elon Musk is the wealthiest man in the world. And so we're going to rely on him to talk about programs that don't need to be there. And maybe if you're one of the people who's fortunate enough that those programs don't include you or your families or your loved ones, then, fine. But understand, you're the exception. You're not the rule. Many of those programs that have been developed have been developed because this is not a balanced society. Never has been and never will be. And the haves are always going to be above the have-nots, and there's always going to be more haves than there are have-nots. And so part of the way our system has been created is to deal with the shortcomings of capitalism. There's always going to be shortcomings in capitalism. Capitalism is not without its drawbacks. In capitalism, you need to have, those who have and those who have not. And yet they're going to dismantle many, many programs because the emperor has waved his magic wand, or the genie has waved his magic wand. Let's go to Jim from Eden. Good morning to you, Jim. Thank you very much for the call. You say what, sir?
Yes, good morning, Earl. Thank you. If we could just take one department, that would be the U.S. Department of Education. There's about 40,000 employees there. And our schools have always been, or in the past, locally operated when they were most efficient. And, now we have the U.S. Department of Education that makes a lot of decisions. They pass it down to the state, and then the state passes it to every school district. And, right there, the schools have not been doing a great job the last 20, 30 years. So wouldn't that be a good place to start?
No, because all schools are separate and different. And if you live in an area where, the people are wealthy and, they have access to the best of everything, and you couple that with another district that struggles, can't find teachers, can't get the best of supplies, shouldn't it benefit our nation to want to make sure that the students and that the children who are the future of the nation are as educated as they can possibly be? After all, we're in a global reality. The competition is no longer inside the borders of our nation. It is international. And so while other nations like Japan and China and India and many of the Asian nations are spending more money on education than they ever have before because they understand the importance of that global competition, what sense would it make for America to say, well, okay, so the rich people, fine, we're going to make sure their children are educated to the best of our ability, and then the rest of the American citizens have to suffer?
Earl, it's not working, though, in the Milwaukee School District is one example.
So let me tell you why it's not working. Are you aware that over 70% of the students who are in the Milwaukee public school system live in poverty? Are you aware of that? Do you not think that poverty matters? Do you think that somebody who struggles to eat, are you aware that Milwaukee Public Schools feeds more children breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And our social service agency before education, are you aware of those things? No, you're not.
How is the U.S. Department of Education helping in that way? That's just taxpayer federal monies just being given to the school districts. But how is that helping their education?
I can tell you, you mentioned Milwaukee Public Schools, but I can tell you across this nation, there are referendums, even probably where you live, where the school districts are saying we're not receiving enough resources to even offer the students what they need. Are you aware of that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, but you mentioned Milwaukee. Okay, because it's easy to say Milwaukee. Many school systems across this nation struggle economically in the wealthiest nation on earth. And you think it's a good idea for them to get rid of the Department of Education. Somehow you think that's going to improve things?
Well, the amount of money per student in Milwaukee is higher than any other districts in Wisconsin. So money doesn't show progress.
Well, see,
because we
go ahead.
If that were the case, wouldn't things get better in academics? If money was the answer to educating our children.
Well, so let me say this to you. If a child is hungry and homeless and struggles economically, it has already been proven it's going to be more difficult for that child to become educated. If the child lives in a war zone and there's, in some areas of this nation, there's more shooting and killing going on than there are in the theater of war. Are you aware of that? So it's difficult, for a person who lives in a suburban area, who lives in a place where they're comfortable and there's no worry about making sure that there's a roof over their heads, and a person who lives in a safe community and who doesn't have those sociological worries, then I would agree with you. But the playing field's not even and level. But I thank you very much for the call, Jim. It's always good talking to you. You're a fair man. Let's go to Susan from Kenosha. Good morning to you, Susan. You say what?
Well, I have to say I am a product of Milwaukee. I am also a product of the Milwaukee Public School, and so is my daughter. And during the time that my daughter went to school, she graduated from Riverside High School with an outstanding education. And I actually was able to, by working 2 and 3 jobs, to send her to Marquette, where She graduated in the upper 10% of her class. And with the hard work of the Milwaukee Public School and the education, superior education that she got, she was able to transform that education to an outstanding job. And there are an awful lot of children, not only from Milwaukee, but from Kenosha, Racine, who came from poverty-stricken homes, who grasped on to that education provided by the public schools and have made something of themselves and are good providers to this world. And that is what we are going to lose with Trump.
Hey, Susan, thank you very much for the call. Got a lot of texts. I'm going to read texts. I'm going to read those, a little bit later on in the show. But again, we're going to talk about the civil service jobs that Donald Trump is going to be cutting and how that impacts you. Each and every one of you in this listening audience is going to be impacted by that. On Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show.
don't know. Every time I move, I lose. When I look, I'm in. And every time I turn around, I'm back in love again.
All right. Welcome back to what is the last few minutes of a Motown Monday on the Earl Ingram Show. I'm talking about the cuts that are going to be forthcoming under President Donald Trump. And the fact that he puts Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, two men who have more than enough wealth to feed the entire world for the next 100 years, between the two of them, going to be making the decisions or suggesting what programs need to be cut. Now, when we talk about, the civil, service occupations and those kinds of things, OSHA, the Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Education, administrations and departments they've named impact everyone. The public schools are not dying because funding is being siphoned off to support profit schools and religious schools. Absolutely correct. Tony, they have to step in because other funding sources have been cut. If they don't feed kids, who will? Again, Jim, along with Madison, is refusing to hand out funding. They're sitting on billions of dollars, tax dollars, taken from us to be used for the schools, roads, bridges, etc. Let me give you some ideas of what civil service jobs are. Because Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump and them are going to be cutting these positions. Post office workers, firefighters, social service directors, teachers, urban planners, social workers, immigration specialists, budget analysts, policy analysts, contract managers, civil engineers, patent examiner, on and on and on. And all of these things going to have a direct impact on your life in the future. And so that's their plan. That's Project 2025. And as they cut these jobs and these positions, they're cutting them because they're saying, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. So we can't afford it because, again, Donald Trump is going to extend the taxes, the tax cuts on the wealthiest amongst us. The people who can afford it the most are going to see their taxes continue to be cut. He's also going to, lower the taxes on corporations. Those two things in addition to cutting the tariffs or raising the tariffs, are going to put our government into a bigger hole than the $31 trillion it's already in. And so they're going to be needing money to run the government. And they're going to cannibalize the government in order to benefit the wealthiest amongst us. Now, how do you think that's a good deal? You're an average American. You think that that's okay? That they're going to do that? Well, yeah, the budget deficit is too high. Our debt is too high. Well, how are you going to fix it? Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll cut food stamps. Oh. Well, if you cut the entire food stamp program, you won't even put a dent into the debt that our government owes. So why are you reaching to the lowest denominator? It's where I have a problem. It's where you're never going to hear me say, okay, he won. let's agree with Donald Trump. Never gonna hear me say that. I'm not one. I'm not Mika, and I'm not Joe Scarborough. And I'm not all of a sudden going to change my refrain and say, let's work together with the Republicans and Donald Trump. Because what they're doing is wrong. And I don't want any parts of what's wrong. Thank everybody who made the show go. Thank you, Calvin, as always. And we're just going to be back on tomorrow doing the exact same thing. I'm going to be joined by my co-host, Sandy Williams. Have a great day. And Calvin, the cold weather is coming. Up next, Jane McNair, Greg Bach, McNair on air. See you guys tomorrow.